कितने मिनट की रिकॉर्डिंग करें? 15 मिनट की। हाँ तो फिर चलिए ठीक है। ठीक है, okay. The topic that which we have taken for discussion of today's session is concepts of processes and system call programming. This is very important topic and especially important to understand the core functionality of operating system, because we are learning many things theoretically in operating system, but when it comes to the practical implementation, to understand actually how it is being implemented inside the operating system, so that is possible only when we do practice on computers and we do actually programming. So before taking up the actual concept of process and system call programming, we need to understand some fundamentals, so that even if somebody is not aware of what is process, what is system call, he or she can understand how we can do that programming and how we can realize it practically whatever we study in operating system. So before that, since we know that everybody of us is practically accustomed of using laptop and everybody is accustomed of using desktop, and we have oftenly seen this kind of setup where we are having a laptop and that is being used by a single person, and most of us are knowing that our laptop is either having a Windows as a operating system or maybe having a Linux kind of operating system, but it allows only one user to use that. I mean, it is not possible that on the same laptop 2 or more persons are working. In contrast to that, we are having a multi-user machine where we are having a single CPU, to that a number of terminals are connected, and these terminals may or may not be having a CPU. So usually this kind of setup is possible only when we are having Unix or Linux type of operating system. It is not possible in case of Windows. Windows does provide multi-user environment, but that is not in the essence similar to what we get in case of Unix or Linux. So what is happening usually in this case, or in this case, in case of single user, we know that there is only one user and that user has to make use of this laptop, and there is no sharing of any resource. I mean, he is the sole owner of that laptop. Whereas in contrast to that, if we look at this setup, so here we may be having a mid-end server, maybe mini or mainframe computer which is loaded with Unix or Linux kind of operating system, and a number of terminals are connected to that. These terminals may or may not be having CPU, but mind it, when we are using Unix as a operating system, all these terminals, they function as a dumb terminal. That is, they don't offer any local processing capacity. So whatever, suppose for example, if I am sitting over here and I am doing some job in maybe in Java, and my work is also going to the same computer, my friend who is sitting besides me in the same lab session and he is doing some work in C or C++, so his work is also going to the same machine. So we may be having this kind of scenario in this machine where we are having a single RAM and we are having multiple programs, and these programs actually they belong to different users. They are not being entered by a single user as we do in case of laptop, because there we are the single user and we have to enter, we have to do the programming, and all the programs which are lying in the RAM of that laptop, they belong to me only. Whereas in this case we can get this kind of scenario. Now when we are making this kind of or that kind of setup, in all the cases it is mandatory that we have to switch on the system and we have to let that operating system to move from hard disk to main memory or RAM. And when we do that, where we are transferring essential parts of the operating system from hard disk to RAM, we say we are booting the system. So every one of us is doing the same thing, because we are switching on the laptop, waiting for some time and letting the operating system to get loaded, and ultimately the end result is we get a GUI desktop. So in case of Windows, we know that in GUI we are having very small icons coming on the screen and everything is very user friendly. I mean, you have to simply click on certain icons just to get certain type of jobs. Whereas in certain cases, or mostly the case of Unix or Linux kind of operating system, most of us are working in command mode only, so we used to get this kind of prompt. This is called command prompt, and this kind of interface where we are submitting the command is actually command interface. So we may be having a GUI interface or we may be having a command interface. Even in case of GUI interface also, I mean in case of Windows, it is possible that we can move to command mode, and there also we can get this kind of prompt on the screen, and here we can work. So whether it is this setup or that setup, everywhere we can issue certain instructions in the form of commands to computer for performing any specific task. So when we issue any command over here or at this prompt, what is happening? The code corresponding to that command will be executed, and when we say that we are executing that code, that means a process corresponding to that command is created. So what we can say, in fact, that corresponding to every command a process is created which is the running replica or running instance of that command. So command is actually what? It's a special name of certain code, and when we actually execute that command, so the code corresponding to that command is executed, and when we say that code is executed, that means a process is getting created, because every code, once it is loaded in the RAM, it is executed in the form of process. So accordingly, we may be having a number of processes created in the RAM, because if you look at this kind of setup, here different users are sitting on different terminals and everybody is doing some execution work, and corresponding to every execution we are getting a process created. So whatever we say, in order to understand as a layman that multiple programs are existing in the RAM, actually they are the multiple processes which are existing in the RAM, and all these processes are ready for execution. Now what is happening, whether this is this kind of setup or this kind of setup, when we make comparison of that, so we ultimately know that management of this kind of machine is typical in comparison to this kind of machine. Reason being ki here all the programs belong to a single user, whereas in case of this machine the programs belong to different users. So obviously here more number of programs are lying in the RAM. So of course the management will be much typical than this kind of machine. That is why we normally say that Unix and Linux, they are in true sense multi-user operating systems, because they are doing this kind of difficult task and they are managing all these programs and managing all the internal happenings of this computer. So that is the ultimate job of any operating system. So I suppose now it is clear that what is process. So anything in the form of command or anything in the form of a program, say for example I am writing any C program and I have converted that program to machine language. When I execute that program, so corresponding to that program a process will be created in the RAM. So it is a process which is actually executed, but normally knowingly or unknowingly we refer to the same code as a process or very often as a program also. But whenever we are referring to any code lying in the RAM, we should always say that it's a process. So now we can look at some other aspects. What will happen if these kind of scenario is there, multiple programs are there, and how they are getting executed. But prior to that we need to understand another concept, that is called multitasking. So this setup is actually making it clear that how can we say that it's a single user and it's a multi-user, because here the CPU allows multiple users to work on the same CPU. That is why it is a multi-user machine, and almost in every kind of this machine kind of thing we are having Unix or Linux as a operating system. Whereas in case of this laptop, even if we claim that Windows is a multi-user operating system, but here there is no resource sharing. We may be having a different kind of setup where we are having networked computers, and there it is possible that we might be fixing one computer as a Windows server, and that Windows server is offering some kind of facilities to us as clients. So that kind of scenario is there, but otherwise by and large most of us practically using either a laptop as a desktop in a single user mode, as a standalone machine. So here we may be having operating system like Windows, or maybe having, if you go back to 30-35 years back, here we used to have operating system called DOS. But in case of this one, here the scenario is somewhat different. Multiple users are sharing the same resource or same CPU, so it's a multi-user machine, and here we are making use of this kind of operating system. So I suppose by now it is clear that what is single user, what is multi-user. Apart from that, there is another important concept, and that is multitasking feature, and each one of us is accustomed of using this feature or exploiting this feature. What happens in case of multitasking? As a Windows user, what we are doing is we may be doing some typing work in MS Word, So we are doing typing work, and in the meantime we have given some printing job to the printer. So that printing is also going on, and at the same time we are enjoying the music also. So we may be playing some music using media player. So 3 tasks we have initialized simultaneously. That means all these tasks are running simultaneously. So it is called multitasking, because multiple tasks have been initiated by a single user. So this feature is called multitasking. Whereas the one operating system which I named just now was DOS, and that was Disk Operating System. That was the proprietary product of Microsoft Corporation. So complete name was Microsoft Disk Operating System. This operating system used to be only single user and single tasking. Single user and single tasking. That means if we are doing any kind of typing job, so it is not letting you to come out of that typing job unless and until that job is completed. Whereas now what is happening in case of Windows, when we work in MS Word, it's possible that you can give the printing command and the printing is going on. In the meantime you are minimizing that window and we are proceeding for Microsoft Excel, and there we are preparing some graphs. But in the meantime we have decided to play the music also. So music is also being played. So multiple tasks we have initiated, and that is why that term multitasking we are using. So we are having one example which is DOS, which is single user and single tasking. In contrast to that, we are having Windows, which is single user and multitasking, and some versions of Windows, I mean Windows 95 onwards, claim to be multi-user and multitasking. So that operating system is a multi-user multitasking, but not in that true sense where we are letting any resource to be used by all the persons by just sitting on dumb terminals, which is happening in case of Linux or Unix. In true sense, Unix or Linux is a multi-user multitasking because it lets multiple users to use the same machine, and all their programs, they are going to the same machine for execution. So now it is clear that what is multi-user multitasking and what is the concept of process. So now we can see how we can do programming in C language, just to understand the concept of process, or just to understand how these processes which are simultaneously existing in the RAM, they communicate with each other. So that also practically can be tested with the use of system call programming that we do in case of C language, because very often we quote that C is a middle level language that includes the feature of high level and low level, and most of us are accustomed of exploiting only the high level feature of C, but the low level feature of C is letting us to do the system programming directly. So that kind of facility we have in C, and that is possible, and that is why whatever conceptually we study in operating system, that is possible to be implemented in C language, and whatever practically we are learning will be having will make this entire concept very clear to us, ki how the operating system is actually designed and how these processes are actually interacting with each other. So now, since we have studied that multi-user setup, and we know that multiple programs may reside in the RAM, now all these programs which are lying in the RAM, they are actually ready for execution. So we say that they are in ready state. They are in ready state because they are ready for execution. What they are missing is microprocessor. So it may happen that the system which we are using for this kind of setup may be a Pentium system, okay, or i5 system. So what will happen, multiple programs are there, but there may be only one processor or microprocessor. So that question arises, how that microprocessor is to be allocated to different processes which are ready for execution. So this is what we study in operating system, that all these processes, they are ready for execution and they are forming a queue, and that queue is normally referred to as a ready queue. Now one of the processes out of this queue is getting the microprocessor allocated. So once it gets the microprocessor allocated to it, the process moves from ready to run state. So let us suppose we are having a process P1 available in ready state, and now it is getting the turn and it is getting the CPU allocated to it. So now it changes its state from ready to run state. Now that process may continue its execution, but if we are letting that process to complete or to finish its execution, so that may be unfair for all the other programs which are waiting in the queue, because their turn may be getting slightly delayed. Why? Because P1 itself is taking lots of time of CPU for its completion. So in that case, to be fair for the remaining processes, we have to have some kind of restriction, and that is why most of the algorithms which we are using in the operating systems like Linux or Unix, they are taking care of equal opportunities for every process. So because of that only we are having the concept of time quantum. We can say time quantum, or we can also say a time slice. So only for fixed amount of time the processor will be given to this process P1. So let us suppose the time quantum which operating system is implemented is 5 microsecond. So only for 5 microsecond this process is getting its turn, but it may happen that process is long enough and thereby it is unable to complete its execution within 5 microsecond. So what will happen? Only suppose this much portion is completed till now, but after that the 5 microsecond time quantum is getting expired. So now the process has to leave this run state because its turn is over, and it has to get added to the rear side of this structure, which is basically called queue. And those who have studied data structure, they know that this kind of structure is referred to as a queue. Why? Because additions and deletions, they are occurring on two opposite ends. So from the front end the deletion is happening because when process is leaving from ready to other state, so we say that it is leaving that queue, and any new thing which is coming, that is getting added to the end of this queue. So we say that this is a linear structure which is referred to as a queue. So this concept actually which we study in data structure is already implemented in operating system. So it's there. Now we can further have one more possibility, that within 5 microsecond the process may get certain statements which are requiring the data to be taken from hard disk. So what will happen? The process cannot proceed or cannot complete its time quantum because it is missing the